Hi, Vivette. It is a pleasure to have you here with us at
Thank you.
ninth edition of Smart Seat Summit and Awards. And it is my absolute honor to have you as one of our guest speaker for podcast series of Analytics Brain Talks. And how are you doing today? And how are you feeling to be here?
No, very good. Thank you so much for having me here. Really honored, and more importantly, I can see a very good set of people who have come here for the summit, and some really interesting conversations that have happened this morning. So excited for the day.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, it will be a very morning session. It was by you and Mr. Sami, and
Yeah,
that has been awesome. People are, asking a lot of
questions.
questions.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
good.
it's like back to back questions. So it's been great. Yeah. So let me introduce Vivek. She's having 2 decades of experience into consumer products and retail world. And here we go with podcast with ma'am. Yeah. So I would love to start by asking a very first question: what drew you into this industry, customer experience, transformation, or what was that moment where you felt that's where I want to make an impact?
It will come a little bit of a surprise. I'm a chartered accountant by background, actually. So I used to really love numbers, and that's why I said I should do my chartered accountancy. But I realized that there is a story much beyond the numbers, and that's when I took a shift about 20 years ago or 2 decades ago to get into strategy and consulting. I use numbers as my strength, and therefore, built my story around it. Um, and then, as going along in strategy, which I was more focused on sales and operations improvement and all, I realized that the backbone of any company is actually driven by their customers, right?
True.
And that's when I sort of decided and focused a lot on what companies could do to drive experience or to drive loyalty with their customers. And that's what I've been doing now for the past 3 to 4 years. A really interesting space to be in, and therefore, try to combine something which is experience led, but with numbers, so that there is more tangible outcomes for businesses.
Rightly said that. So my next question would be to you. As Deloitte has been, closely working with many lot of brands across the globe, and you have been quite while with them, and it's been quite some time. You have seen the shift kind of had happened in terms of achieving the customer excellence. So, what was the biggest challenge that you have seen, and how did you guys overcome in terms of redefining the real customer experience or a good customer
Thanks.
means?
So I think first of all, there has been a fundamental shift in the entire awareness about companies, right? That they have about customer experience.
Okay.
Maybe about I would talk maybe a little bit pre-COVID and post-COVID, right?
Right.
So pre-COVID was all about let's get the products out there, products will be available, customers will come,
Right.
right? But the COVID scenario actually changed the entire way brands had to interact with customers, right? Because it was not only about the products being available, but actually making sure that they were buying those products at that time. So that's when we saw an entire shift in the way companies looked and thought about experience, right?
Mm.
But what was some of the challenges is, as I said, experience tends to be a little bit more qualitative in nature, and therefore, how do you really ensure that you're delivering impact, not only just something at a qualitative level? That was one challenge. Secondly, was this entire shift in the method of purchase or the method of interacting, right? We used to completely look at physical channels. Now, because of COVID and with the entire sort of spread of the internet,
Right.
5G,
AI.
data, and all those things, there is a big play of the digital channels as well, right? So how do you balance between the two? And the third one, because of this data and AI being available, how do you make it very relevant for the customer, right? So these were the three things that we saw as key challenges, or key things or key questions that brands were trying to solve for. And as I explained in my session also, I think what we try to do in our entire approach, rather than just keeping it at a more qualitative level, which is extremely important, we made a very conscious effort to ensure that these qualitative were actually sort of outlined in terms of business impact. So therefore it created a very strong case for businesses to change, right?
Right.
When businesses start seeing impact, they start to embrace it and move faster. And that's why I think today, as I talk about experience and all those things, there is a much more wider openness, more importantly an openness to see how it can lead for lasting business impact. So that's how we've tried to ensure that we address these challenges.
Rightly said. So as we hear, achieving a great CX, it starts from within the organization. Like you mentioned, you guys have been also been through a lot of difficulties, and you guys have overcome likewise. So I wanted to understand, like as a leader, I mean, what is in your perspective? What do you suggest as a leader to build a kind of ecosystem in their respective organization to have to make a decision in a way that will be customer at the
At the
center.
center, yeah.
Yes.
Correct. So I think that's a very good question, because earlier CX was a function, or was, I would say, an agenda of just one team, which was the
Yes.
customer experience
Yes.
team, right? They used to come up with ideas, then they had to work with sales, they had to work with procurement, they had to work with
Right.
marketing, they had to work with different departments, and align them to ensure that was to happen.
Right.
I think one fundamental shift and one fundamental requirement, right, in this entire thing is about a cross-functional team. We are seeing now, and we are pushing a lot of companies as well to ensure that they set up a cross-functional team who's responsible for CX. So, what do I mean by that? Is that there are representatives from sales, from marketing, from procurement, from R&D, from manufacturing, from every department within the organization to be part of CX, right? So, it is not part of only just one department, but it becomes an entire responsibility of the entire organization by setting up this cross functional team. That is the first thing. The second important aspect of this ecosystem is about governance, right? While
Hmm.
organizations start on the path, very often it is left as an idea which does not necessarily get implemented, and therefore it becomes very important to ensure there's regular governance, review, monitoring of
Right.
what is happening,
Execution.
execution, and therefore are we at least sort of delivering on what we thought.
Correct.
And the last very critical point is the blessing of senior leadership, right? You need to have the steering committee in place, you need to have the CXO levels aligned to this
Right.
entire
And
thing.
everyone convinced.
Correct. So therefore, to make sure, and that's why, to ensure that conviction, is when, to coming to my earlier point is of saying that how do I marry qualitative with quantitative, because it's very important for them to see impact. So that's how we say that how you can get your ecosystem up and
And
running for
yeah,
this to drive this agenda.
having a customer centric approach.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. So let's forward a bit and say hi to 2030. And what is your idea of, when achieving a game changing, change in the CX domain? What will be that train according to you? If you can just explain.
So I don't think 2030 is too far away. So it's just around the corner. But if you ask me, and I think it's somewhere happening. But I, as a customer, whenever I see movies and all, I always think about, is there a way that you can just read my mind, and therefore tell me what I what do I actually need, like take away the decision making for me. But keeping that aside, I think going forward to 2030, I think we will be more comfortable using a lot more of digital assistance or AI support for our in our day to day life. We'll be more comfortable, we'll be more accepting of it. Secondly, I think is that brands, they themselves will really sort of focus more in terms of speed rather than just processes, right? So therefore their ability to reach the market, or their ability to get products across to the market, would be much faster, because again they have very intelligently leveraged technology.
Right.
And more importantly, I think what will also happen by 2030, again this is started, there will be this entire focus and trust on AI, and the entire governance around it, right?
Hmm.
Today, while everybody is talking about AI and talking about digital assistance and all, our regulations and ecosystem needs to be made much stronger to protect privacy and to protect the interest of the customer as well. So that will become the third important, I would say, the third important
Trend.
trend, or the foundation for 2030.
Yeah, and so before we wrap up our this podcast, I would like to have a personal take from you. When it comes to smart CX, what comes in your mind very first thing, or how we can get the good CX? So if you can just tell us what is the smart CX, or what it comes to your
Yeah.
mind according to you.
So, smart CX for me is something which is very simple, and I touched upon this even in my presentation. I always tell clients, and even me personally, like, When I want to define CX, I look at three key parameters for the person to whom I'm driving experience, right? Whether it's a brand or
Yes.
whatever. One is about keeping it very simple. Uh,
Right.
do not complicate it. Do not try to, try to address everything. We have to really focus and keep it very simple.
Right.
Secondly, be very transparent in your communication. There is no, information always comes out.
Right.
Don't delay it. Tell the customer or tell the person, whoever you're
Timely.
dealing with, on a right manner, and be completely transparent. And lastly, know the person you're dealing with. Do not offer something which is just not relevant to the person, right? so
Right.
so therefore, my three key principles for smart CX, that always this is, know me, show me, and tell me.
Tell
So
me.
that is, keep it very, very simple, and that's what I believe will help to drive smart CX.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I think I have heard all of your session, for this day, and I've seen that you have given a very good example of Taylor Swift. Can you just tell to our audience, because they have missed, because they are going to see you on social media platforms, so they must have missed. So if you can just
Yeah.
repeat it.
So typically, whenever we give examples of experience and all, we typically look at companies, right?
Right.
Brands and companies and all that stuff. But as I was saying, for the past 4 5 months, I've had the opportunity of spending a lot of time with teenagers and all those things. And one consistent point that I've heard across all of them is Taylor Swift, right? And I'm amazed at, and that's when I started reading a lot about her. So I don't personally follow her, but I started reading a lot about her. And that's when I saw that how she has so intelligently, as but at the same time, kept it very simple in terms of connecting with her fans, right? So the three principles that I told you, right? The first thing is that she knows who her fans are, and therefore she is very focused in her method of communicating with the fans, right? Whether it's social media, or whether it's Insta, or whether it's to her concerts and all those things. Secondly, she gets her fans extremely involved with her. What do I mean by that is that the fans contribute to her songs. They contribute in terms of new music that could come out, or she talks about themes that are very relevant to the fans,
Hmm.
right? So like, as teenagers, whether it be heartbreak, whether it be a new career move, whether it be friends not talking to me, she picks up themes that really resonate with the fans.
Right.
And the last one is that, while she's using digital or social media, she at the same time ensures that her messages are very personalized, right? So
Hmm.
she's not talking while she's talking to the mass, but it does feel that she's talking to you one
One
on
and
one
one.
as well. So I think she's used this very intelligently, so that she's almost made her fans, I would say, transcend from being fans to being family members. And
Hmm.
that's the experience that she's giving them, that creates that bond for them. And that's why I believe she's a very, very good example of how you can very intelligently, but at the same time very simple, using simple techniques, create experience for people who you.
Rightly said. Rightly said. Even it truly resonate with the idea of your smart CX. Know me, show me,
Yeah,
and tell me.
yeah, correct.
So yes,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
thank you so
This was
much.
it, and thank you so much, ma'am, for associating with us as Deloitte, one of our knowledge partner. And thank you so much. Look forward for more
Thank you
inclusive
so
sessions.
much for having me, and I again had to say, very good session. I really enjoyed myself, and I look forward to the balanced day.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.